Well, Sydney's richer suburbs need higher housing density. That's in order for the city to address its housing crisis, and that's according to the man in charge of productivity in the state. Peter Achterstraat says Sydney needs to build up in order to allow people to live where they need to and want to, and not just rely on outer suburbs for growth. Peter joins me live now. Thanks very much for your time. Where are we talking, whether it's suburbs or the sort of band and how far it's from the CBD? You know, where's the biggest dearth in terms of density at the moment?
All you're trying to give people a greater choice. At the moment, not enough houses are being built, or dwellings, including apartments, across the board, whether at the high end, the medium or the modest end. In the past, over the last 20 years, in New South Wales, only 6 residences or 6 dwellings were built per 1,000 people. Whereas in Victoria, it was 8, and in Queensland, it was 9. So we've got to build more residences. At the moment, a lot of the priority has been on the outskirts of the city, and we can continue that. But what we've also got to do is do infill. So closer into the city where we already have infrastructure, we've got to do that.
And where's that sweet spot then? Is it 5K from the city? Is it certain areas? Because you mentioned infrastructure there where rail patronage has a bit more elasticity, if you like. You know, can you put some specificity on it?
Yes, and we're still doing some work, and we'll release that in our report number 2 as to specifically where we believe that the benefits should be. But what we're saying here on the general point is that if we continue just to build further out, there's costs, there's productivity costs and financial and economic costs, because it takes longer for people to get into work. They use up more petrol and more congestion, and someone has to pay for the new roads, etc., the infrastructure. We're suggesting that there be more apartments and being built on top of train stations and new transport hubs. We're also suggesting more medium density, more 3 or 4 story, and even dual occupancies and granny flats. So we've got to make use of the existing infrastructure that we've got in the city.
So that's the call. It's we'll see the specifics you alluded to in that report. Some people will say, well, yes, we know this. We like this. Planning's your issue. 3 tiers of government's the problem. Will that remain a problem? Do you need to have this report and then say, figure out how to actually get it done because this call's failed before?
We need to all work together on this one. Because there's some people that say, look, it's this person's fault or it's that person's fault. I'm not interested in that. I just want to get results. And I think there is an appetite for the various levels of administrations to get together to solve this. One of the things I do want to focus on, Tom, is the notion of filtering, where if we're not just talking about building houses for one economic set, just say for middle income or low. If we can build units across the board, say if we build more units at the top end, then those people who can buy those, in the past they used to be competing for the middle income homes and the more modest homes. But if we can get them to buy and bid for and take the more expensive apartments or dwellings, that will free up the median and the more modest houses. So it's a filtering effect, because the reverse is happening at the moment.
So I found that interesting reading this today. Yeah, you can expand on that, but I just found that interesting. So what you're talking about is if you do have not a 20-level apartment block, but a 3 or 4 level one in a really desirable suburb, and you're able to have that rather than just separate homes, detached homes, people move into them with those higher incomes because they're happy. It's a luxury apartment, whatever you like to say there, instead of going to a house a bit further out and competing with that family. And that's just as a bigger problem, you're saying, as the affordable housing problem, which we talk about constantly.
That's an excellent example. We all know from Economics 101 that if we can increase the supply across the board, then that will go a long way to help put downward pressure on prices. If there's a tight demand, either at the top end, the middle, or the more modest end, then that's going to make it, the prices will just have to go up because people will keep bidding for it. But you're exactly right. If a person's living in a large, quite expensive place, and they go, I want to live in this same suburb, but the house is too big, or I don't have lower with gardening, we should be in a position where we can 3 or 4 story walk-ups or lifts. They'll want a lift.
Okay. So here's the final question. Actually getting this done. I know you said I don't want to hear, whose fault it is, but the best example maybe we have, or one of the better ones, is Auckland, where they said, hey, local councils, you don't get a choice anymore. Here's what's happening, because there will always be hold-out councils and people making councils hold out. Is that what we need in Australia? More stick, less carrot?
We learn from our New Zealand friends, and we are going through that, and we do talk to people in New Zealand. So, but every city is different. I mean, people say, why don't we build something like this city or that city? That's fine. We can learn bits and pieces from various cities. But Sydney is unique and we're the most wonderful city in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And we've got to make sure we do it right. If we do, if I am able to get more infill and build higher density, it's got to be the right quality. It's got to be appropriate quality. We've got to keep the green spaces. We've got to make sure that the architects are top notch and they are good quality buildings. Because the last thing we want is building cookie cutter apartments, and then no one will be happy.